Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to another adventure of my lifetime, at least for today. And Brachelle is with me. Brachelle, how are you?
I am so good. I'm feeling pumped. We have a very exciting and big week with lots of good people. And today I am specifically more excited because we have Raeanne Lacatena joining us. And we get to talk about her books and her website and all the amazing things that she does. So, welcome, Raeanne. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you both for having me.
Well, thank you. Brachelle, you sounded like you actually have some Spanish in you, or you at least took it in school.
I do speak Spanish, Kevin. Not as thoroughly as I would like, but although I'm not Hispanic, I love the language and the culture.
And so Raeanne Lacatena, is that right?
You did it. You did
I
it.
did it. Yay. She- she's a
So
holistic
proud.
business, life, and success coach, and she's an author.
I am.
And she not only is an author of book, she's an author of spoken word now.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that first and foremost. You did your own audio book, and I'm so proud of you.
I am so grateful. Yes, it was quite an undertaking. I really had no idea what I was getting myself into with that one. But I am proud. It was fun and it was transformative and exhausting and yeah, it opened my eyes to a whole new world.
Did you, how long did it take you to do the entire 300 pages?
We had to come in the same time every day at 8:30 in the morning for 2 hours until it was done, and it took 6 days. And so, I guess what is that? 12 hours?
Hmm.
Which
Eight
is
hours.
really,
What is it? 12. Yes.
oh,
I
which
think so.
that really isn't bad at all.
No, we did pretty well. I mean, it was pretty exhausting. I didn't realize it because I'm a coach, and so I talk all day, every day, speak to my clients. We have conversations. I'm speaking for about 8 hours, but this was a different kind of voice experience for sure. My voice is very tired, and I noticed even when I was sharing because there's parts of the books where I share my own story throughout the pages, and I noticed myself hiccup a little bit more during those personal stories, and so I was just watching my like a third party unbiased person watching my experience going through this. So yeah, it was a lot.
Well, and if you have the ability to do that, and because you know the material so well,
Yeah,
that you could put the inflections where they want to be or
right.
where you want them to be and stuff, because I can only imagine what it's like you being the author, that if you have somebody else doing the voices and they're like, no, that's not the inflection I wanted right there.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that I was able to speak the way that I was intending it to sound, and even add my personality into the pages, which you can't always do in a book. And so I'm excited to report that there's been a couple listeners already, just because it came out today, actually, Kevin.
Yay.
Um, and there were some beta listeners, and they did share that hearing me explain the principles through voice actually helped them to understand it more, and they more deeply connected with the stories that I told and understood the messages that were within the pages or in the audio.
Well, first of all, would you tell us what day the book comes out again?
Today, March 3rd. No, I'm here to celebrate with Positive Talk Radio. Isn't that fun?
That's exactly right. Well, and what's it's really exciting for you and all of our listeners, because some people gather information in unique ways. Some
Mhm.
people do it via the written words, some people do it via pictures, some people do it auditorially.
Mhm.
And so it makes a great deal of sense to do an audiobook, which is now, Brachelle, it's on Amazon. Where else?
On Amazon, and I believe it is on your website, Rayanne, at the integratedentrepreneur.com.
Mhm. Yep. And it's on Apple Books too. Yeah, it's right on Audible,
Wonderful.
which is the Amazon hub for audio listening. Yeah, Kevin, definitely. My clients in particular are busy, experienced entrepreneurs, and so they want to support me. And many of them were able to find the time to read the book. But I got a lot of feedback because the book came out in September 30th, and they said, "Let me know when it's on Audible because I don't have the time to read 301 pages." But I do want to read your book and I prefer listening. And so I think in this particular market and they enjoy listening to books.
Yeah, because now rather than sitting down and dedicating time to reading it, when you are in your car, by the way, where are you today?
Me, I'm in upstate New York, Rochester, New York.
Oh, so do you guys have traffic jams there? I've never been.
We don't really have much of them, and I work from home, so I don't have that commute thing going on. But my clients are all over the country and some all over the world, and so yes, they find themselves in traffic jams and they find themselves on commutes, and so it is definitely a good thing to have.
It is much easier to digest a book if you're listening to it and you're in traffic, and it actually can take your mind off of the guy who's doing something stupid in front of you or beside you or behind you or anything like that.
100%. Yeah. And I'm a big fan of purposeful multitasking, also, right? Like to turn dead time in the car into an educational experience. I am all in favor of that kind of stuff.
Well, and being that you're working with entrepreneurs, all of them have limited resources, limited time, and they want to cram in as much as they can cram in their short but exciting 18-hour workdays.
Yes. Ain't that the truth? Very
It's
true.
like, I got to sleep 5 hours last night. I'm so impressed. And now I'm back to work.
Yeah, just in time to lay down your head and have a million ideas pop into your brain.
And,
Yep.
and you can't go to sleep anyway.
Right.
I suppose you're probably one of those because this happened to me where you're trying to go to sleep and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you've got all these ideas in your head. And it's like, why am I just lying here? I might as well get up and go to work because
I
I'm
just embrace it at this point because I think it is really a characteristic of the entrepreneur that, I fall asleep, but then that 2, 3 a.m., some of the people that I work with just choose to either, as you said, get up, or for me, what I do is I'll lay in meditation and allow myself to be in what I call the boardroom. Like, okay, I guess we're having a board meeting tonight. I'm the CEO, the CMO, the CRO, the CHRO around the table, but it is all these ideas and thoughts and the preparation for the business. And so when it needs to happen, it happens. I don't resist it. And then I don't wake up exhausted because I know my brain needed to do something. That means I didn't process something enough the day before, or maybe I needed to sort through something. And so I kind of allow it at this point instead of fight it. And I feel good when I wake up.
if you get to
Great
sleep,
idea.
actually.
If I get to sleep, yes. Sometimes that is just the wake up time.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your coaching and what you do, and also, I gotta tell you, the first book that you did, which was Cracking the Rich Code, you had a chapter in that with some other authors, and the forward is by Tony Robbins, and different. What the experience was that like?
I was actually writing The Integrated Entrepreneur. It took me like 2.5 years to write my own self-authored book. And so Jim Britt was one of Tony Robbins' original coaches. And he approached me on LinkedIn. He saw some of the things that I was doing, my posts, some of the content that I was building. And he approached me right smack dab in the middle of this writing process for The Integrated Entrepreneur. And I tend to follow on my journey what I call breadcrumbs from the universe. And so I personally am an introvert. I tend to hide a little bit behind the scenes. And I knew in that season when Jim was reaching out to me, it was right in the season of me taking ownership of visibility of my business and my brand. And so when he asked me to be in this book alongside Tony Robbins and so many other greats in the industry, it was a season of yes. And so I agreed, even though I was already working on another book. I said yes to write this chapter and to be in community with these folks. And it was great for me because it forced me out of my comfort zone. It was a mini version of preparation for the big version of my book launch, which was awesome. I was able to practice being in community with those other individuals and collaborate with them. We had a launch party. There was the marketing. We were on New York Times New York, what is it called? Times Square. We had a billboard on Times Square, and we hit international bestseller within a few minutes. It was a rush. It was awesome to be able to experience that first. So I believe it set my central nervous system ready for that preparation. And I knew it set the bar very high because I knew I couldn't go backwards. I needed to be a bestseller again after having done it once with them, but I didn't have the coattails of Tony Robbins to ride on this time. It was just little old me. And so I worked hard, and I got into podcasting and visibility and vulnerability, and I shared more of my story. It actually improved the writing that's found in the pages, because one of the things that I noticed was there was something missing from the science and the framework and the principles that I was teaching, and it ended up being my own story. And now if you read the about 50 reviews that are on Amazon for the book, most of them say, while we really enjoy the teachings and the principles, we especially love learning it through your eyes, Raeanne, through the stories you tell. And so it allowed me to be me in the pages more fully. And for that, I'm very grateful.
You know, Rochelle, I would have described Raeanne in a lot of different ways. An introvert ain't one of them.
I'm a good faker. I'm a very good faker. And maybe I'm an ambivert, right? They say that that's a thing, but yeah, when you're an introvert, you have to learn how to live in an extrovert's world, like you, Kevin.
What's an ambivert? I've never heard that term.
So if introversion and extroversion is a spectrum, ambivert is right in the middle, right? And you can lean towards one particular end of the spectrum. I'm an introvert leaning towards the middle, but I still really require what introversion sometimes gets confused. I'm not shy, but I really do need alone time. Hence my 4 sage green walls. I work from home. I need quiet time. I need space from humans. If I'm in community with humans, I need to be away from them too, to recharge through music, through solitude, through reading. And so that's really what introversion means. It doesn't necessarily mean doesn't like humans. It means that they need solitude to recharge, and they prefer the more deep conversations, the more intimate spaces, as opposed to the larger community spaces.
Do you find that in dealing specifically with humans, that there are so many different vibrational levels and energy levels and the different aspects of who they are and the life experience that they seem to be having at that time, that it can be daunting and depressing and difficult, because there are so many people that bring Michelle's experienced this a lot. There's so many people that bring such negative energy to you. It's hard to bring them up and keep yourself up as well. Do you find that to be true?
I find parts of it to be true for myself, Kevin, to be honest. I see where you're coming from, and I've definitely been in that space before. I know myself well enough now that I understand that even though humans are at different levels of vibration, and some of them are in very victim places, martyr places, prideful places, some of the lower modes of vibration, we might call it. What I used to do in my practice, and this might speak to your original question from maybe 15 minutes ago, which was, tell me about your coaching practice. So here I am. I found the question there.
Full circle. We've gone full circle.
Yeah. Early in my career, I started as a mental health therapist. And so my job was to help people going through very, very challenging situations. I was in pediatric palliative care. So I was helping children with life-threatening illnesses. And so, maybe they're not necessarily choosing those circumstances, but the circumstances are very, very depressing, to use that word, right? But those children often were some of the most joyful vibrations that existed, because they knew at such a young age the fragility of life, the urgency of life, to enjoy moments. And they were charged with making people happy around them because everyone else was depressed about their situation. And so they actually ended up taking a lot of responsibility for positivity. It was a huge life lesson for me to witness these kiddos. And, I used to fault myself for not being able to handle working all of the time with some of those really challenging situations. Like, for example, I never really did well with those who had schizophrenia. It was just something I couldn't personally handle very well. And so in the early stages of my career, I blamed myself and shamed myself. But now I realize that as I evolved, you don't have to join people. Compassion doesn't mean join them in their suffering, although the word compassion is with suffering. It doesn't mean to match your energy vibration to theirs. It means hold your vibration as high as possible, and people will naturally join you if they're meant to and in a space to. And so now what I practice, instead of being depressed by the state of the world, and I don't always get this right? It's not always easy. But I instead choose to practice holding my own energy vibration at the highest possible that I can for that day. And whomever is able and willing to join me for that day, great. Whoever isn't, great. And that's just where they are. I practice keeping myself separate and distance enough from their energy, because I don't serve them if I lower my own vibration. And I know you speak in spiritual tones a lot, Kevin. And so I know you understand. I'm not sure about your spiritual inclination, Rochelle, but you can teach me that too. That when we have a high vibration, high energy level, it's our responsibility to keep our vibration high because the planet needs us so badly. And those high vibrations cancel out so many of the low vibrations. So something like Positive Talk Radio is incredibly important, because you're sharing high vibrations with the world. And so you're canceling out a lot of the negativity that does exist in the world. And so I hope that shines some light on the perspective that I have.
Very, very much so. And I agree with it 100%, because you got to have good energy if you're going to accomplish, in my world, if you're going to accomplish anything. And so that's really important. Rochelle, you know what time it is?
It's break time.
Do you want to tell anybody about this commercial?
Sure, I'd love to. So, for everybody listening, please pay attention to this next 30 to 45 seconds. This commercial is massive. Kevin and our little team did an amazing job on it. We lived through it and we live by it. So, please pay attention. And also, we are talking with Raeanne Lacatena, who is a coach and an author and all the above. So, stay with us. We'll be right back.
And an extraordinarily spiritually grounded person. I suggest that you work with her and listen to this commercial. Thank you, Rochelle. At 67 years young, I never thought I'd feel this good again. But thanks to Purium's Ultimate Transformation Lifestyle, to date, I've lost 37 pounds and gained energy, confidence, and a whole new outlook on life. This isn't a diet. Purium is a complete lifestyle change, giving me all the natural, organic, nutrition-packed superfoods that fuel my body, crush my cravings, and help me burn fat naturally, without starving myself. No gimmicks, no guesswork, just a simple, proven system that works. Superfood shakes, detox support, and real results. If I can do this at 67, imagine what you can do. It's your time to feel better, look better, and live better with Purium. Let's do it now, and let's do it together. Go to www.positivetalkradio.net and click on the Transform You to get started. That's positivetalkradio.net. Transform You. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is here. And Rochelle, you say her name so beautifully. And can you say Raeanne's name again, please?
Raeanne Lacatena. And yes, it is absolutely beautiful, and it is so fun to say. So
we'll just keep that going.
Yes.
You see how I figured out how not to screw it up.
Yeah, we lean on our strengths, and we delegate our weaknesses.
That is so darn true. And we're talking with Raeanne. She's got a couple of books out. One is Cracking the Rich Code, which is a compilation of a bunch of very different but very talented writers that have got a very important message for all of us. And also her own book that she tells me has been on five different bestseller lists. Mm-hmm. It's called The Integrated Entrepreneur: Actualizing Your Potential and Fulfilling your purpose. That's what this show is all about. That's why it's important that you're here, doggone it.
Yeah, I heard your intro and I was like, I know I'm meant to be here. Yes.
It is so vitally important, and everybody, and I know in your work you run across people that are like this all the time. They'll come to you and say, Raeanne, I don't know what it is. I've got the money, I've got the house, I've got the car, I've got the kids, I've got the wife. Okay, I have the wife, but now, but I don't know what I'm going. Why am I really here? There's got to be more than what I know as to be here, and to really discover what my purpose is. It amazes me how many people can go through their entire life and not really have an idea about what their purpose is.
Mhm.
And so I know that you help people with that idea of, okay, what would you like to do, and how do you go about helping somebody when they come to you and they're like throwing their hands up and saying, I just don't get it. I don't know. I'm not happy with my life, and I don't know how to make myself happy, and there has to be more. What is there? What am I missing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it definitely depends on what state the person is coming in. You started to describe someone who I would call a broke millionaire. And that might be someone who has all the money, all the toys, but no one to share it with because they've destroyed every relationship along the way. So they have none of the other really important currencies that end up being the ones that matter, like purpose, like relationships, like love, joy, peace. All of those really foundational energy sets are what we're all after anyway. But sometimes people have to learn through going through what doesn't work first,
Mhm.
and they think that the almighty dollar is what they need to chase in order to fulfill their purpose. But usually what they learn is that money is just a tool, and it is meant to support our purpose. And that's really the difference between the masculine and feminine, that sometimes people put the stock in the dollar and they want to focus on that. But what really money is meant to serve the feminine energy, which is creativity, inspiration, flow, joy, fun. It's purpose, it's connection. And so sometimes what we have to do first is we have to unlearn old patterns with that broke millionaire and help them to maybe repair relationships. A lot of folks will come to me and they'll say things like, that they want to have a relationship with their kids, right? Or they want to repair the relationship with their spouse because they are co-parents, or maybe they've burned through 5, 6, 7 assistants in their lives, and they really just want to find the person that they're meant to help support their business. And so there's a lot of relationship, communication, leadership learning that needs to happen with that individual. And then there's a different kind of purpose seeker. I would call this person the archetype that's lost, right? That's not making the money and not feeling fulfilled. And that's more of the distorted feminine side of things, where it's that very like victimy, martyry, oh, woe is me kind of energy. And feeling very comfortable in that space, maybe, but also very uncomfortable. And so, either way, there's a whole lot of internal work that needs to happen in order to overcome those limiting beliefs and those ways of experiencing life. And the first quick fix for that is that I often offer to people is two things. One, you're already on your purpose. You just don't know yet. This is that hindsight is 2020 experience. I always tell them, we don't know exactly what this looks like yet, but I promise you, everything you've done, everything you've been through, even the really hard stuff, happened for you, not to you. And someday, hopefully, maybe not, but either way, I trust that all those things that you went through were in service to your evolution. And if we can just agree on that, you're going to have so much more fun with life. Because instead of thinking purpose is out there in the future, we get to be on it right now. We get to get curious about the things that we've been through and look for the blessings and the lessons within those experiences. And then the purpose reveals itself to us much quicker. And two, happiness is an inside job, and you can choose it right now. You get to generate happiness from the inside. So again, it's not something that you have to search for. It's right here, right now, if you allow it to be, and you can practice generating that feeling set for no reason in particular. And so those are the two basic principles that I teach for someone who's either lost or a broke millionaire. And then we need to factor in some unlearning, some repatterning, some brain science, maybe some body somatic changes. And that's what my life's work is.
It's exciting work that you do.
I love it. Can you tell? Can you tell that I love it?
I can. Yeah, because by virtue of what you do, you can see the light turn on in somebody's eyes
Ooh, it's my favorite.
when they see something in themselves that they didn't expect or even know was there.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like you're familiar with Neil Donald Walsh, I would assume.
Yes.
The be do have scenario.
Yes.
Where what he a lot of people I had a friend from New Jersey. Now people in New Jersey are just a little different.
Everything's legal in New Jersey.
And he says, yeah, I got a family, but I love to argue with my family. We just get out there and we just argue and we just mix it up and stuff. And I said, well, if you don't have to do anything to be happy.
Right.
And he said, that's wrong. You got to do stuff to be happy. You can't just be happy.
Oh, so he's from Texas, Michelle.
He's a I'm getting my accents all mixed up now.
It always switches into some sort of country accent. I don't know why, but he's professional.
It's part of my professional roots, as they say.
Right,
But he would say, you got to do stuff. You can't just be happy. You got to go do stuff. And if you do enough stuff that's going to make you feel good, and then you're going to feel happy because of all the stuff you've done. And I said, no, you should be happy first.
You get to be happy. Yeah.
And if you're happy first, then a lot of things follow for you. And if you're happy to begin with, and then you do things that make you happy, you'll have happiness and you'll have a good life. And you teach that, and it's so incredible that the work that you do, because it is so needed. There are so many people that just don't get it and they don't know. By the way, I got to do this because Michelle is listening to us and she's coming up with one-word answers, and it's like, wow, when you were talking just a minute ago, and then how amazing, and then no, and then when you're happy, everyone is happy. And you know something, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, it is. It's a frequency, and people want to be around that. And so it is an attractor factor for sure.
Oh, that's a t-shirt.
Yeah. Another one. Didn't I give you guys a t-shirt last time too?
You're full of t-shirts.
I am. You got me thinking here. Maybe I've done it wrong.
Well, no, you've done it exactly right, and you are progressing to do some extraordinary stuff, and the attractor factor. I love that, and so I got to ask you, because you didn't come out of your mommy's tummy this way. How did this all translate and happen for you?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a helper, right from mommy's tummy. I did. I knew that I wanted to serve, and I found great joy in being useful. I had a lot of siblings and a pretty crazy, wild family upbringing, and I really enjoyed helping lots of people. I decided first to go to school for social work. Actually, the first choice was going to be music therapy, and I dropped the music and kept with the therapy. And I was right away in personal development right from the beginning. And since then have switched over to holistic business coaching. And so I've always been on the straight line of service and helper. It's just changed outfits a little bit over the years.
Wow, but
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see, in my world, I started my service career as a graveyard dishwasher at Denny's. Now, some people may say, how the hell did that translate into service? But
It sure does. It sure does. Yeah, I believe everyone
100%.
should be in the restaurant industry at least once. I started in pretzels. You know Auntie Anne's pretzels?
Oh, yes.
I Kids make me twist it with Play-Doh now, and I am stellar at twisting pretzels. So I believe that customer service is a dying art, and that those who have been through something like that, whether it's Denny's or Auntie Anne's or some kind of restaurant experience or hospitality, that those folks end up being incredible business owners because they understand the importance of the client relationship, which is it's priceless.
And by the way, just as a personal note, if I ever decide to go out to lunch and it happens to be with you, and you are mean to the help, or or angry with the help, or less than positive and less than giving with the help, I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you.
Because that means I had a guy that claimed to be a spiritual master. He was a spiritual guru guy until I went to lunch with him. And
Yeah.
then he was mean to the staff, and he was like, "You're the guru of one, dude. Nobody likes you."
Another broke millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Rochelle, take us into the commercial break, would you please?
Yes, of course. Thank you for listening in, everybody. We've got a great show. We still have another half, so stay with us. We've got the one and only Kevin McDonald along with myself, and we are talking with Raeanne Lacatena, who is a life coach and an author and understands people at a different level. So if you want to go work with her or see the work that she does, go visit the integratederentrepreneur.com, and we will be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. Sorry, I can't help myself. Whenever I have a guest like you that is just, you make my heart warm and energetic and fuzzy, and I can tell you at the end of the show, I will be more energized than at the beginning of the show. So it is really cool.
So it brings out the Irish accent in you, does it not?
It does indeed.
You're like a little joyful leprechaun, Kevin.
Yes, indeed. I was born in that way, you know.
The feelings are mutual.
It is so much fun to talk to you. And by the way, apparently we have another guest on the show. Her name apparently is Michelle. And so she's talking, let's see, she learned from the ground up, she says, and there's a lot of people out there like that. And Michelle says, hello. Is this someone that you know?
I don't know who Michelle. Oh, maybe I do. I know plenty of Michelles. Maybe we're new friends.
Oh, indeed. Well, and Brushelle just dropped off. I think she had a computer issue, but she'll be back. And but I wanted to talk to you still about the integrated entrepreneur, actualizing your potential and fulfilling your purpose. Was that something that rattled around in your head for a while before you took notes and decided that, I really need to put this down? Or did you, in working with your clients, they say to you, Raeanne, you really need to write a book?
Oh, there's so many stories there, Kevin. I was never the type of person. There are lots of people out there, and I work with plenty of them that are authors by trade. That they had a book floating around them. They always knew that it was something they wanted to do. I was not that person. I didn't see myself as an author. I actually had quite the opposite belief system. I believed that I wasn't good at writing, and it's one of my own personal transformations that I had to go through to get on the other side of those pages, for sure. And you're right that for these last 20 years of being in personal development now, people have been asking me for a book and saying, "You have so much to say, Raeanne, you have so much to share, so many stories, so many principles. We would love to have it in one place." And so I've listened to that invitation over and over again. And the messages and the requests got louder and louder until finally I was like, all right, I'll write a book. And that started on International Women's Day, March of 2022. And now here we are. It's out there in the world. And the integrated entrepreneur, it was definitely something that rattled around in my brain for a long time. I had a hard time settling in on the title because that was really what I wanted to say. But I got some feedback that some people wouldn't resonate with it. And every once in a while, people will be like, huh, what does that mean? But I just see it as a conversation starter. I get to, when someone asks that question, I get to say, well, first of all, read the book and you'll learn. Second of all, I get to talk through what that means in the world. And then there's a symbol on the book here. You want to talk crazy spirituality for a second? This symbol came to me in a meditation. It came out of, just like landed in my brain. And so I drew it on a piece of paper after the meditation, and I sent it to my my publisher. She's like, "Well, I guess we have your cover now." So we had to do some research and some recon to make sure, what does it mean? And it actually means integrated. That symbol means integrated. And so it's been a journey of landing here on this book title and on this experience, but it feels right. And I've since then created an entire academy around the integrated entrepreneur. It's becoming a movement, or at least I hope it is.
And I was going to suggest that your work and your vision and what you do is so vitally important to all of us that it needs to be out there in all its forms in a bigger way. And I know it's happening.
It is.
And it will happen for you, but it's desperately needed by so many people, and they can relate, huh?
Especially now, yes, Kevin. I agree, but I am certainly biased to that question.
Well,
I believe that entrepreneurs are the difference makers, the rule breakers, the game changers. They think outside the box, they challenge the norms, and that's what we need right now. Is we need people to think different and do different and be different and have different. And so that's why I lean on this entrepreneurial spirit, which I didn't realize that I was as entrepreneurial as I am. That took some earning some stripes to really own that. But since I have tasted the glory of what it means to be a business owner and work with entrepreneurs, I will never go back. I absolutely love these people. Their spirit, right?
Oh yes. Well, and the cool thing about an entrepreneur is they're not following anybody else's blueprint necessarily. They're creating their own.
Well,
and
some of them are.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was hoping that maybe more.
Well, there are entrepreneurs who are very employee minded, and so let's look at the MLM world, right? Here's the thing: the exact blueprint of what you need to do to get it done. Here are the posts you offer. Here's the offers that you give. Here are the pricing. Here's what you say on the phone. I wouldn't necessarily call that the entrepreneurial spirit. There's some of the ingredients of the entrepreneurial spirit, but that thing you're talking about, like that creativity, isn't necessarily the cornerstone of something like an MLM-based entrepreneur. I prefer to work with people who really do want to create and who are also connected to a higher mission. Those are the people that come to me.
My suggestion for a lot of people is that to allow yourself an opening, perhaps meditation, perhaps just being mindful, just being quiet, and to see what your intuition brings you. because that really is what got you started, with this journey, and with the logo and with everything else, is that you listened to your intuition. And I honestly know, because of this show, that it works.
Mhm.
And it is an amazing process if you open yourself and you open your heart up to it. That works for you, doesn't it?
100%. I believe that business is a brilliantly disguised personal development plan. It's disguised as a financial opportunity, but really it's a mirror. And if we're willing to look in the mirror, deeply into the mirror, and see ourselves at our true core essence of who we are, that's when the business hits. And I'll tell you, even from my own experience and in the businesses that I've served, who, some of whom are making millions as a result of this mirror looking, the more you look into yourself and build your business from thyself, the better the business does. The more that you're connected to a higher purpose, a higher source, whatever that is for you, the better the business does. And so this isn't just fluffy stuff. This is not just inner work for the sake of inner work. This is not just spiritual, frou-frou, that this actually works. It actually creates the masculine too, that the KPIs, the numbers, the goals, the targets, the benchmarks, those all come too from playing in the sandbox of looking in the mirror and knowing who you are.
And even to the point of where, at least in my world, what I do is not about making money. What I do is about having an impact. And that's the pact I've made with my guides on the other side. I
Mhm.
want to create an impact so that I can have Raeanne, and her last name again, Rochelle?
Lacatena. Yeah, I love it.
Hey, Lacatena.
And she can be on the show, and you can inspire hundreds or thousands of people that are listening to us, because it is so important that your message and who you are and your shining personality and your smile and your energy and all of those things are given to as many people as possible. And that's my goal. That's my mission.
That's your currency, Kevin. And you've done the work to look in the mirror and figure out your currency is impact. And so you are playing, that's part of the point here, is that some people's currency is money, and that's okay. We need money. Money is a tool. It's useful for human beings to exchange with. Your primary prioritized currency is impact. And so you're bartering in impact. You attract impactful people, and you're here for the purpose of exchanging more impact. And you're doing a damn good job at it.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It is since 2003, when the very last call that I got on the very last day that I did that show, and not sure if I told you this story, but a lady called me. She was from Bainbridge Island. Her name was Carol, and she said, "I just want you to know that we are devastated because you're going off the air." And I really had no idea what kind of an impact we were having on anybody. But the phone lines filled up, and lots of people said nice things. But she said, because I said, well, devastated is a strong word, and it's just a radio show. And she said, no, you don't understand. I'm an Alzheimer's caregiver, and she and I sit here and listen to your show every day because you can still reach her.
Mm.
And that was my indication from my guides, from the universe, that this is what I should be doing, and I needed to do it more and to do it better and to become bigger, so that I could not for me. I don't care. There's a Kevin McDonald, by the way, you may not know this. There's a Kevin McDonald in Canada who is a comic, and he's a funny guy and all that kind of stuff. So I don't care about the name. I care about the impact, about you coming on the show and having people like Michelle, who it's like
She loves you.
she's
We
gonna
love
work her
you,
fingers,
Michelle.
her little fingers to the bone, making so many comments.
So good. It's so good. Yeah, that woman in Canada, she put a big deposit in your impact bank, didn't she?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she paid you a lot of currency that day.
it's important.
Yeah.
It's important for all of us to trying to do the best that we can for people and to be kind and considerate and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yes,
But
yeah, it's not all puppies and sunshine, is it?
no, but the cool thing is about the work that you do, and we need to take our final break here in a second, but the cool thing about what you do is you work with entrepreneurs, some of which are now 7-figure earners and have a large company. But what happens is they create the company culture that affects more people than just themselves. And that is so important in this day and age, that the company culture that they create is in line with what you teach them.
Right. And they're using that money for a tool and a greater mission more often than not, which is, we do need money in the marketplace. And so when their money is attached to the mission, a higher mission, then that is incredibly useful for our world bank, our world culture, our world experience.
Exactly. And Rochelle, before we go on to the break, did you have a question for Raeanne you'd like to ask her?
Nope, but I'll think of it when we come back. I've just been listening. I'm a good listener now.
But you're having a good time listening to what she's saying, aren't you? I can tell.
Yeah, I am. I'm really looking internally and trying to portray that message and think about how also it changes how I show up for people and how they show up for the world, especially as children. So it's exciting.
And Raeanne, we need to take a real quick break. 30 seconds, folks. Just relax. It's just 30 seconds. We'll be right back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle is here, and Raeanne Lacatena is here. But I can't say it as good as Rochelle. So say it again, Rochelle.
Perfectly. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, it sounds good, Kevin.
He's getting there, right?
Yeah.
And
it's all the practice. And we have to say, thank you, Michelle. We love you too. She has been with us through this entirety of the show and loves the work that you're doing and supports you just as much as we do. So have to show her that love. And thank you, Michelle, for being with us. This is why we do this, is for people just like you.
And it's, we're not all in the same place at the same time. And you've worked for 20 years to achieve what you have done and are doing. What's going to happen in the next 20 years for you? You're so gifted now.
This is a big year for me, Kevin. It really is. So I had told you the story about how I opened myself up to the visibility of writing a book. I just recently opened myself up to the visibility of being a speaker. And since then, I've booked between 8 and 10 speaking engagements that are massive speaking engagements over the next couple of years. So I'm stepping into this leveraged place where I get to serve more people and meet more people and share this word. And one of the best compliments that I got was that people are ready for me, that they're ready to hear this message more deeply than ever before. And I take that very seriously.
Well, I got to tell you, in 2003, when I started this, and it came due to a spiritual quest, a spiritual thing that I went on with a couple of friends. And in those days, meditation was of the devil,
Mm-hmm.
And if you talk to a psychic medium, not only are you nuts, but they're that's the devil talking through them and stuff. And
it's not too far from the truth right now, too, in many instances. There are still plenty of people who are afraid of these types of things, and to each their own, we will say, for today.
Well, but when I first started, yoga was not a thing. Meditation wasn't a thing. And now it's becoming very mainstream.
Mhm.
And so people, and they're now finding out that consciousness is a real thing,
Yeah.
where it was before, it was like, oh no, there's not, it's just your brain and stuff. They're now finding out that all of the things that you and I have been exposed to over the last 20 years
Yeah.
are really real things. It's not baloney. It's not woo woo. It's real stuff.
Uh,
And
Quantum physics, it turns out, is a real thing, right?
it is. And the first time I interviewed Greg Braden, I had no earthly idea what the hell he was talking about. Because I said, Mr. Braden, what is it that you do? And he started going into it, and it was like, I don't understand half the words that you said, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, and more, please, more.
Exactly. And then what I've discovered over time is that all of this is true, and it can be used for your betterment if you will listen to it and listen to yourself. And that's kind of the core of your work, isn't it? To get people to listen to themselves, that what they want is already inside of them.
Yeah, I have this added benefit of being a trained licensed mental health therapist. So I have neuroscience training, I have clinical evidence-based practices that I've been certified in. And so what I will often do is I will lead in some crowds. I don't need to in all crowds. Like, we didn't need to do neuroscience with you guys to convince you that this stuff is real, but sometimes understanding the brain mechanisms that exist in our own, between the ears space, it's like they can accept that. They can accept that science is real. And so if I can meet them in the science and then bring them over into what that means for their life, then I can speak to the listening, is what it's called. You meet them in their own listening instead of just trying to make someone understand something that they're not ready to hear. And so we kind of gently pull people into their consciousness through looking at themselves, yes, and exploring what is going on in my own brain. What are those thoughts? Okay, so what do I do if I shift into this thought set or this feeling set or this emotion set? And oh, look, this thought was a result of this behavior. And so I give them a bunch of ways that feel safe enough to begin to explore some of these topics that sometimes can feel a little bit out there. So we ground it in ways that are acceptable. And that's the outside in approach. I do prefer to work with people who are open to all of it, and they're like, yep, I don't need the explanation. I don't need the proof. Just give me the stuff. Give me all the things. Give me the Reiki. Give me all the things. And so that's where I tend to prefer, but I'm always open to bringing people over to the promised land.
Great way to put it.
Exactly. Well, and to take people exactly where they are is important.
Yeah.
I have a couple of kids. They're now middle-aged men. It just kills me to say that, but they're now middle-aged men. And one of them said, "Dad, you never told me the truth." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he's a diesel mechanic, and he says, "You never put it into words that I could understand,
Yeah.
because you talk in a way that because I'm a diesel mechanic and I think in terms of schematics and this is how stuff works, and you're out there a bit." And he said, "I heard somebody say about a transducer." And I said, "I didn't have no idea what you're talking about because I'm not a diesel mechanic." And he said, "A transducer translates words into energy and then back from energy back into words." And so when you're talking, that's how AM radio works, or your FM radio in your car works,
Yeah.
because you're getting the vibrational energies from the universe and from the station, and then it transduces it back into something that becomes music.
Yeah.
And
Maybe I have a new job title. I think I might be a transducer.
exactly. And and so he said, "I get it now. I understand it."
Yeah.
And because it was a lot more real to him.
Yeah.
And so I could explain to him how a John Edward, as an example, as a psychic medium, can pick up the pictures through the vibration and the energy that is being given to him, and his transducer turns it into pictures
Right.
and stuff. So he
Yeah.
got it. He get it. So that you got to meet people as they are is
Yeah.
my whole point.
It is certainly one of my skill sets. I didn't realize I had it, but I am an active empathic listener. And so I'm able to hear the words and the energy of the person and transduce that into what they need to hear in their own language so that it's palatable for them to move forward with their purpose.
Brilliant. Brilliantly said. And Brachelle, we're coming to the end. Would you like to ask Raeanne something?
Well, we usually ask lots of guests this, and really it's just been the only thing on my mind. I've been actively listening, as you said, and really trying to understand it for myself in so many different ways of thinking. But if you were to meet with somebody for the first time or go back to even your younger self, what would be your advice? What would you tell that person?
Well, those are two very different questions.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, I mean,
Either or.
there is a world where someone might answer them in the same way, but because I am a transducer, that's not how it works for me. What I tend to do is I decode what that person needs and listen to them and give them advice based on what they need, and more often than not pull it out of them so that they're the ones saying that instead of me planting it in their brains. That's just more effective. That's the coaching model. As often as I can, I draw it out of the person and use their own language so that they can take ownership for the fact that that was their brilliance, not mine. And that's just really more useful from a coaching perspective. Advice to my younger self. Well, I don't need to swear on Positive Talk Radio, so maybe I'll be kind. I would encourage her, little Raeanne, to not spend so much time worrying about what other people think. Because what I've learned over the years is that human beings are inherently self-involved and they're really not thinking about you anyway. And so just really focus on living your truth, living your purpose, being fully authentically you, instead of wondering what other people are thinking about that, and shifting and changing yourself into a chameleon and trying to make people happy. Because the only person that you're charged to make happy in this world is you and your higher power. And so focus on that and you'll have a lot more fun. When I figured that out, things started getting a lot better for me.
Yes. And I think at any age, anybody could take that advice. The learning will continue till the day we die, so we might as well try to get it under the radar pretty soon.
Yeah, sooner the better. That's for sure.
Yes.
Well, I can hardly wait till you get to come back on Positive Talk in 10 years or so, and you'll be the author of 15 books, and you'll be on the New York Times bestseller list for 200 weeks on any given one of them. And then you're going to come back, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation.
I love it. Well, thank you for having me back.
Well, I know you're going to get tired of me, but do you want to come back again?
Of course. I like these conversations. This is fun.
It is for us as well. And we get to talk to some, and I get to introduce Brachelle to some just remarkable people, and you're one of them. And she says this she says this as well as anybody can.
Oh.
Have a beautiful day, beautiful souls.
You too, Michelle. You're a beautiful soul as well.
And we don't know who she is yet, but we'll find out, doggone it.
Definitely connect with us on Instagram, and let's continue to get to know one another.
Exactly. And Brachelle, I want to thank you for being here. You've been soaking up information like you're a sponge.
Yeah, today I'm kind of in a space of just open learning and understanding. And then when I knew we were meeting with Raeanne, I knew there's anything she said need to be listened to. So thank you so much, Raeanne, for being here. And please do come back because we have so much more to talk about.
We do. Thank you so much, guys.
And by the way, if you haven't watched the entirety of this show, go to Positive Talk Radio. Go to Positive Talk Radio on YouTube, and it will be there. Voila, like right now. It's like magic. It's like a transducer. It works. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everybody for being here. And you, young lady, have a wonderful day.
You too, guys. Be well.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at